Okay. At this time, sir, if you would state your name and DLC number.
Harold Ozane, 312264.
You're a fourth offended attempted cruelty to a juvenile habitual offender. You had 20 years hard labor. Your parole date is 1/7/2015 with a good time 1/12/2029 and a full term of 1/7/2030. Also, you have Mr. Roche will be one of the members, and Miss Pearl Wise. Myself as Jim Wise, I'll be handling your case today. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was this child. I want you to tell this board right now what was going through your head when you picked a child up and threw a child down.
Oh, well, to tell you the truth, sir, I didn't know the child, when I slammed the car seat, the child wasn't in the car seat. But when I went to trial, the witnesses said that the child was in the car seat. And that's how I got convicted of the charge.
Okay. All right. So you say it's never happened, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, you went to court before a jury. We're not there to try your case today. We have to go by what we see here today. So you're before the board now. You have very strong opposition against law enforcement, the district attorney's opposition. Let me tell you, you've been arrested 45 times.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to break down what all the arrest is. You've been arrested on several different. You're a fourth offender, and some of the programs you've done some programs. Has drugs been a problem for you, or alcohol?
Well, tell you the truth, sir, coming up, I liked to sell drugs, you know.
Well, I want to ask you, has drugs been a problem for you?
No, sir, drugs never been a problem in my life. My problem was
alcohol.
Just every now and then, not too often. Not too often. I wasn't no everyday drinker, but sometimes I would drink.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
So you're telling me all this was because, was you drinking the day this happened?
Yes, sir, I was.
Was you pretty intoxicated, or can you tell the board?
Not intoxicated to where I didn't know what was happening. I knew everything that happened, and I still today can recite everything that happened that night. So I wasn't intoxicated to where I was out of my mind and couldn't think.
Yeah, you completed your substance abuse program. You also anger management, cage and rage, and you completed your living and balance phase 1 and 2 since you've been in there. So what you're saying on the child there, you didn't have anything to do with the child?
Well, I went to trial. For the charge, and I was accused of slamming my child like a football on the ground. But when he was brought back to the hospital and all that, he ain't had no bruises or nothing was wrong with him. And at that time, he was number 34 days old. And if I would have slammed my child on the concrete like they saying and this and that, he would have been dead, sir. I fought for my innocence.
Okay.
But when I went to trial, they used my background against me. And I went to a judge trial thinking the judge would have, you know what I'm saying, think about this is an infant baby. But he sided with the DA and convicted me on it. They gave me 5 years and they took me back and charged me as a habitual offender.
That's right. All right, at this time, Miss Pearl Wise will be asking some questions.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Tell me about your education.
Oh, I got well, since I've been here, well, in 17, I started school. I had a 6th grade education.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into the program, the school program, and a year later, I got me a high set. It took me a year to get a high set.
Congratulations.
And now I
Good.
completed 2 semesters of college.
All right. Good. Have you ever had a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work did you do?
I did all kind of work. I did construction. I worked for an offshore company, delivering the supplies. I did various work. I did roofing. I did a lot of things.
Okay.
Concrete.
Good.
Worked
Good.
I worked in restaurants.
Okay. Do you remember what was going on that you dropped out of school in the 6th grade? Do you remember?
I started getting locked up, going to detention home, running away from home.
Okay. Okay. Now that's what you did. Do you remember what was going on that facilitated you doing all that?
I don't know. I guess me and my mama didn't have it too good when I was young.
Okay. 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 Why should I vote to let you out, sir?
I mean, I would like for you to vote to let me out. But at the same time, I know that my past don't look good, but that's who I was back then. I didn't change a lot since the last 11 years that I've been locked up. And I take responsibility for everything I did. I pray that y'all would give me the chance to go out there and prove that I'm a better person than what my record shows.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, because I guess when you look at your history, if they didn't set you down for this 11 years, you were headed somewhere bad. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you said that you were a drug dealer and you were not a drug user, right?
I used drugs. I used the drugs. I used to smoke weed. I tooted pot a few times, but I wasn't no everyday drug head, somebody who was going out there looking for it. But I did dib and dab in it.
Okay, all righty. We finally get some honesty out of them. One of the things I saw in your record, how you were released in error on January 13th of 19, and you came back January the 17th of 19. I know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
was hard. Now, I want to commend you for that. I know that was hard.
Yes, ma'am.
It was just one of those things. And you got 390 days of program, so you have been busy. Trying to achieve something different. I commend you for that as well. That's all I had, Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Allen Roche.
Mr. Wise, I have no questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. At this time, I see your aunt is here today to speak. Ma'am, if you would unmute your mic and speak to the board.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, sirs and madam. Forgive me if I sound a little shaky. It's just seeing my nephew just kind of brings tears to my eyes, and but I'm going to do my best to speak on his behalf. Okay, my name is Lisa Handy, and I'm here in support of my nephew Harold Ozan's request for parole. My nephew Harold is a good person who made many mistakes, and I truly believe that he has learned from his mistakes. Yes, he has been incarcerated a number of times before, but I know for a fact that this one has been an eye opener for him. Since being incarcerated, he has enrolled in school and is earning a degree, which I know he hopes to finish if he is released from prison. He was mistakenly released from prison about a year ago, and when the prison system realized that it was a mistake, he was notified and turned himself in without incident. He didn't know at the time that they had made a mistake and he had gotten a job and was to begin working the very next day. I work for the Acadiana Workforce Commission as a business service representative and have formed relationships with many employers that I can reach out to about job openings. I also have a strong relationship with the reentry program that are for formerly incarcerated individuals. They help formerly incarcerated individuals find employment. We just recently co-hosted a virtual job fair with employers who hire the formerly incarcerated. If Harold is granted parole, I will get him connected with this group so that he can share, so that they can share with him the resources that they have to offer. Harold has expressed to me many times during our phone conversations that he has changed and that he wants to get that degree and get a job and get his own place to live. These are things that he has never had in his adult life, and since he has gotten older, these are things that he desires. I know if he's granted parole, he can and will accomplish these things. He knows that his mistakes of the past have cost him a lot, and he wants to live the rest of his life as a productive citizen. Harold is truly a good person who has made many bad choices, and now that he's older, he realizes all of those things that he has done in the past were wrong, and it cost him a lot. Harold has a mother, sister, brothers, children, aunts, uncles, and other relatives who support and love him. Throughout the years while incarcerated, he has taken advantage of the educational opportunities that the prison system has to offer. He was a trustee, he did work release, and stayed out of trouble while being in prison. If paroled, he will live with his mother until he can save up enough money to get his own place. He will have the support of our entire family to ensure that he meets with his probation officer as scheduled and to make sure that he meets the goals that he has set forth for himself. On behalf of my family, we are asking you to please consider our request and Harold's request that he be granted parole. Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of my nephew, Harold Ozane.
Okay, thank you very much. Uh, At this time, Mr. Oseen, you have anything you'd like, Wardens, anything you'd like to say on his behalf?
Harold's been with me since 2017. He's a trustee, presently a trustee of Arlington at the Votech. So, like you said, they released him a year ago and he turned himself back in, and Harold, no problem with me.
Okay. At this time, Harold, anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
I just would like to apologize for all the things that I did in my past and hope that I'm forgiven, and I just want to start a new future. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything that want to share? Okay, at this time, the board will be voting. Harold, I see you have 390 days of credits. And you work real hard, and you've done some good things since you've been incarcerated. You have adjusted date on 12/12/2029 to be released. You're a fourth offender. You've been arrested 45 times, 45 arrests. You're getting real close. I want you to do some more programs today. I'm going to be voting to deny your parole. Law enforcement opposition. You have a poor criminal history, and also 45 arrests. And that is my vote. This time, Ms. Pearl Wise will be voting.
Mr. Harold, my vote is to grant your parole because of the good programs. You've had 2 write-ups. I think it shows that you're a Pride member, and you're working off base there at the institution. And you've done some real good programs, and you have positive family support and good comments from the warden. So I'm willing to take a chance on you. My vote is to grant your parole today.
Mr. Roche.
Mr. Ozan, there's a couple of things that I just can't get by. You have a history of violence. There's violence all through your arrest record, extensive arrest record. You've been revoked at least 4 or 5 times. You've not done well. Matter of fact, I could use the word terrible supervision history. You have a moderate risk assessment, which tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending, and you have law enforcement opposition. For those reasons, my vote is to deny your request.
At this time, your request today has been denied. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Okay, so that hearing took place in late 2020. We're going to now watch his next parole hearing, which takes place in 2022, almost 2 years to the date of this hearing. After this, we'll also go over additional information. We do have information on his on his crime, which is actually quite interesting. In particular, he appealed his sentence, saying that 10 years was too harsh, and they came back and said, "You're right. 10 years was a wrong sentence. It wasn't too harsh, but we're actually going to sentence you to 20." That the sentence was too lenient. So they really went through the book at him. But let's go and watch his second parole hearing, and then I can get my quotes from the trial.
Sir.
This is the matter of Harold Ozine, date of birth March 10th of 1973. Mr. Ozine is a 4th felony offender. He has a parole eligibility date of January the 7th of 2015, an adjusted good time date of January the 12th of 2029, and a full term date of January the 7th of 2030. He is currently serving a 20-year sentence on the charge of attempted cruelty to a juvenile after having been adjudicated a habitual offender. Mr. Ozine, is all of that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ozine, I show by my calculations that you are, let me see, 49 years old. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in jail on these charges, Mr. Ozine?
Since 13 years, 2009.
13 years.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ozine, explain to me, I've read the facts, I've read the police reports. Explain to me in your own words what you did. Tell me about it. I mean, I know what you did. Tell me what and why.
Because to be honest with you, I was drinking, and then me and my son's mother got into an argument, and out of frustration, I threw the car seat. And I'm sorry for that.
Let's slow down a little bit, okay? I can pick up a chair and throw it against the wall and nobody gets hurt. Your son was in that car seat, right?
No, sir.
Who was in the car seat?
Nobody was in the car seat.
Well, why are you in jail? It's not a crime to throw a car seat on the ground.
Because that's what I was accused of and convicted of.
So you're telling me that you did not spike the car seat with your son sitting in that car seat, in spite of witnesses saying that, in spite of the fact that the jury has convicted you of that?
Yes, sir.
Did your son get injured?
No, sir.
So you deny all of that?
I mean, I did throw the car seat. I'm gonna take responsibility for throwing the car seat and putting him in danger by doing that. But as far as him being in the car seat, no, sir, he wasn't.
Or did you throw your son on the ground?
No, sir.
Now, you say you were drunk, right? What
Yes,
were you
sir.
drinking?
We had drunk some Hennessy,
How much?
probably half a pint or a little bit more than a half a pint. I'm gonna see.
So tell me what was going on. You and your wife will argue. Tell me what was going on and why you got so angry.
Because I got I was always one to, I get mad fast. And me and her started arguing, and she was like really like to mock me and stuff. So I threw the car seat. Cursed out and threw the car seat.
Where did you get the car seat from?
I had it, it was in my hands.
What were you doing with the car? Where was your son?
She was holding him. She was walking with him. We was waiting for the cab to come pick us up. She had him in her arms. And the police on the scene testified to that when he pulled up, the girl had a small child in her arms.
The police testified at your trial that the child was in her arms and you didn't throw the.
They just testified that when they pull up on the scene, that the girl had a small infant baby in her arms and nothing was wrong with the baby. The baby wasn't
Who
crying.
testified at your trial that you threw the baby down, spiked it like a football twice? Who testified to?
Oh, a woman named Catherine Guidry.
So she was lying?
Yes, yes, sir, she was. She was.
Did your wife testify?
Yes, sir. She
What did she
testified.
say?
She said that she was holding the child when I threw the car seat.
Jury didn't believe that.
Well, I went with a judge trial, and the judge said
Judge didn't believe.
Yeah, he said he believed that her story and not mine.
Let's talk about your criminal history.
All right.
You've been arrested by my count over 37 times. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You have 6 felony convictions. In addition to that, you have 8 misdemeanor convictions, most of which were reduced from felonies. The other arrests were felonies and misdemeanors that either were not prosecuted or no records were found. Why all the criminal activity?
Well, when I was younger, I was, you could say, wow. You could say that I didn't have, like, let me see, I'm trying to find the right word, excuse me. I was, when I was young, I was wild, and I really wouldn't listen to nobody, and I always was getting in trouble. And
Tell me about your drinking.
Sir?
Tell me about your drinking. You said you were drunk that day. How long you been drinking? How old were you when you first started drinking?
Oh, when I first started drinking, I was probably about 17, 18.
How about drugs?
Every now and then, I would do drugs too.
What does every now and then mean?
Probably once every 2 or 3 months, something like that.
And what would you use?
Mostly I like to smoke weed, but I didn't use cocaine before too.
You've been arrested a number of times for possession of cocaine. Some have been dismissed. You had an armed robbery charge in 1995. What happened in 1995 that you got arrested for armed robbery?
Oh, I got a little nephew, and they had a dude in the neighborhood. He was selling him some crack cocaine. So I took his crack cocaine from him, and he called the law and told the laws I robbed him.
You had an aggravated battery in 1991. What was that about?
We got into a gang fight when I was younger.
And what did you use that made it aggravated?
A stick.
What kind of courses have you taken that would convince me that you're not going to go back out, start drinking, using drugs again?
Well, I took NAAA. I took living
When
in
did you
balance.
take those courses?
Sir,
When did you take those courses?
I took them in. I took I think living in balance in 18. Yeah, and I took NAAA in 20, 19 or 20.
So what would be your plan to stay sober?
Well, tell you the truth, when I get out, I want to continue being strong. And if I got to go to meetings and stuff, I'll go. And I want to get me a sponsor that way if I ever get the urge to want to drink, because any thought is a bad thought. I want to have somebody that can talk to me and keep me strong.
What about your anger?
I went to Cage Your Rage for that
When did you go to that?
in 2018.
Okay. And also in 2018, you got a write-up for fighting. What was that about?
Me and another inmate had exchanged some words, and he started hitting on me, and I just defended myself. I mean, it wasn't. It was still a fight. It was still a fight.
Now, I think early on, you told me that part of your problem was your anger and your drinking. How are you going to deal with your anger?
My anger, I learned since the past 5 years. I've learned to think, because that was always my problem. I wouldn't think, and I used to react. But since I've been locked up, I learned to think more before I react and learn to try to calm situations down if I feel that they're about to get out of control.
Mr. Ozane, I'm looking at your record. It appears that almost every time you've been on good time release, you've been revoked for new charges, primarily drug charges. But you were revoked for your aggravated battery charge. You got a good time release in 2003. You were revoked in 2004. You got good time release in 2006. You were revoked in 2007. You got out again. You got revoked again. Tell me how it is with this record. How can I trust myself to let you back out again?
Well, Mr. Mirabella, that's his name?
Correct.
When all those I did, I ain't gonna lie, I was younger. I was young and I was wild. And, I really never used to think now, but I've been in prison 13 years. And in them 13 years, I did a lot of soul searching. And, I've changed. I done got older, and I don't want to live that lifestyle no more, or live this prison lifestyle no more. I don't want to do it no more.
What kind of work will you be doing?
I want to go work for the city, apply for jobs for the city when I get out. But I have my aunt Lisa, she got a job fair. She worked with the pre-release program in Lafayette, and they got a job auction coming up soon. And I would like to attend it if I could. You feel me?
So you don't have anything specific in mind. You're just hoping to get on with the city of Lafayette?
Yes, sir. Well, in 19, I was released by accident. And I went fill out an application and I got the job, but I had to turn myself in because I wasn't supposed to be out really. I was let out by accident.
Now, I noticed on your application, you said you plan to live with your mother and Scott. Is that still your plan, the way you're gonna live? Where are you gonna live?
Yes, sir. With my mother and Babanu.
What's the status of you and your wife?
Holly, we don't talk no more. We don't talk no
How
more.
about you and your son? How old is your son now?
Oh, my son 13. Me and him got a best friend relationship. I've been in his life for the past since he was born, and what I did, the only thing that kept me, like, we not physically contacted, but we be on the phone all the time, and you know, I love him. I love him a lot. And I'm really sorry that I lost my anger that night and did what I did, because I robbed him of 13 years of
Who
what
was
I
the
having
judge?
a father. Ma'am,
Who was your
I mean,
judge?
sir,
Who was your judge?
or Judge Reuben.
You've got a moderate risk for reoffending. You got your high set. When did you get your high set?
In 18, December 18.
Now, did you get a degree from Ashland?
Yes, sir.
When did you get that?
Oh, December 20.
And you got some work in collision repair?
Well, no, sir. I done did some at Votech because I was working on it, but I didn't get no degree on nothing in it.
Get a certificate in that?
No, sir.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Ozine?
Mr. Marabella, he's, I think it's the first time I've actually spoken to you today. Good afternoon to you. Mr. Ozine's he's been a good inmate. He's only had those 2 write-ups since he's been here. One was a fight, and one was and last one was in 2018. As you mentioned, he got a high set while he was here. He's been in Ashland University and got a degree while he was here. He's a Pride member. He's a trustee as well. So he's got a lot of good things going for him. He's had some programming here. As a side note, he mentioned he had a little blip when he was released a little bit, but the reason when he got out, how he was brought back in was he was reporting to his parole officer, and so at least we knew he was going to report, and that's how he got back in. So
He reported and he got reported. Is that
right.
it?
I mean, it's got to sell something for him there, you know. But anyway, he's done a good job while he's here. I have to say that about him.
Mr. Ozine, let's go back to the incident itself, okay?
Yes,
I don't
sir.
have much information, frankly. I don't have a police report. I don't have all the information. It appears that you waived the jury. It appears that your judge found you guilty of attempted cruelty to a juvenile. It certainly reads bad because it appears that there was a witness that says you spiked your son in a car seat just like a football twice.
Well,
You're telling me that didn't happen?
yes, sir. That never happened. That's something I got to live with because I got convicted of it.
How close was your wife and your son, according to your story, when she had the baby in your arms? How close were you all together when you spiked the car seat?
From like me to the warden?
Were y'all arguing?
Yes, sir.
Screaming at each other?
Sir?
Screaming at each other?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell me what you think about what you did. Tell me a little bit about why I can be comfortable that isn't going to happen again.
Well, I'll tell you how when I ain't through it, like, but I know if I did what I did and it was wrong, because even though my son wasn't hurt, I could have easily thrown it to a little bit further this way or something, and it could have hit him and probably caused bodily harm. And I ain't mean to do that. I love my son. You know what I'm saying? I love my son more than anything.
How often do you see your son? How often do you talk with your son?
I talk to him 2-3 times a week.
How long were you out when they let you out by mistake?
Oh, 5 days.
Did you see your son during that 5 days?
No, I never could because he stayed in Franklin. And I stay in Lafayette, and I ain't had no ride to get out there.
He stays in Franklin with his mother?
Yes, sir. With his grandmother, his mother's, huh?
With his grandmother?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have. Any other questions?
Where is his mother?
Ma'am,
Where's his mother?
his mother in
Is-
prison. She in prison.
Okay. And I do have a statement from the grandmother that says that you do talk to him on a regular basis, and she doesn't object to your seeing him as long as you're not alone with him.
That's good. That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. No, sir. All right, let's hear from your aunt, Miss Alicia Handy. Miss Handy?
I'm sorry, you were muted. As I stated, my name is Lisa Handy, and I'm here in support of my nephew Harold Luzan's request for parole. My nephew is he's a good person. He's made a lot of bad mistakes, and I truly believe with him being incarcerated for these last 13 years, he's learned a lot from those mistakes. Yes, he's been incarcerated many times before, and I think this one has really been an eye opener for him. I was going to talk about the fact that he's gone to school and earned his degree, which you guys already know that, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I was going to also talk about the fact that he was mistakenly released and he turned himself in without incident, but you already know that. But I work for the Acadiana Workforce Solutions. And what we do is we help people find jobs, we help people get grants for school. But one of the main things that we do is we work with a lot of reentry programs. In fact, we're going to be co-hosting a reentry job fact. We're going to be co-hosting a reentry job fair on this Thursday at one of the churches here in Lafayette. And we find employers who will hire formerly incarcerated individuals. So if Harold's granted the opportunity to get paroled, that's one of the first things I want to do is I want to refer him to some of these companies that I have relationships with and get him a job. I also work with a number of organizations. One of them in particular is called Push, and they work with a lot of formerly incarcerated people as well. They offer counseling for those individuals. They assist them with job readiness skills and all of those things. And I know one thing for sure, if he is released, I will insist that he gets counseling because he's been locked up for so many years. I know he has to get acclimated to being back into society. So that's one of the things that I want to make sure that he would get is some type of counseling to help him and help him with job readiness skills and put him in touch with these organizations that I work closely with. He's expressed to me many times that he's made mistakes in the past. Yes, he has, but he's never been in prison this long before, and he's had the opportunity to learn from those mistakes. He's gotten older. He's not that wild young kid that he was when he was arrested all those many times and many years ago. Harold, he has a mother, he has a sister, he has brothers, children, aunts, uncles, and all of our relatives. We all support him and we love him. And on behalf of my family, we are asking that you please consider our request and Harold's request that he be granted parole. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of my nephew, Harold.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ozine, is there anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
Oh, I'd like to say that I'm deeply sorry for my actions, and I would never put my son or my daughter or anybody that I love or anybody, period, in another situation like that as long as I live. And also want to thank y'all for, if I make it or if I don't, for just giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Ozine. Panel, ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Ozine, when I first began to talk with you and you indicated you didn't do what they said you did, that was of great concern to me. In reviewing everything, and I realized at the time as I reviewed your file, you were only found guilty of attempted cruelty to a juvenile. Your 20-year sentence was based primarily on your criminal record. You were charged as a habitual offender. That's why the judge gave you 20 years. What you did isn't as bad as I thought it was. I believe that you and her were arguing. I believe that you spiked that car seat a couple of times, and it probably came very close to hitting both her and your son. So I can see how someone would be extremely alarmed by that. You've admitted your alcohol problem. You've admitted your anger issues. You've taken some courses for your anger management. You've got a good history of substance abuse treatment while you've been in prison. Good AA programs that you've taken. You've taken substance abuse, living in balance, anger management. You participate in AA. You've taken going home, staying home, pre-release. You are a Pride member. You do have a moderate risk of reoffending, and I'm certain that has to do with 37 different arrests in all of your convictions. You have a moderate needs with a high substance abuse needs. I'm going to take a chance on you, Mr. Ozine. My vote is to grant your parole with the following special conditions: that you obtain gainful employment, that you attend 3 AA meetings per week, that you submit to random drug and alcohol screening at the request of your parole officer, I'm also going to require that you report for the first 90 days weekly to your parole officer. Now, you're going to have to work out. Now, the grandmother that has your son, is that your grandmother? Is that your mother, or is that your wife's mother?
That's Holly's mother.
Okay. You're going to have to work out some sort of visitation with her through the court system, or however you work that out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's my vote. I'm only one vote. Ms. Jackson?
All right, Mr. Ozine, you have some good programs as outlined by Ms. Mirabella. You also have a good institutional record. Very few write-ups, I think two write-ups. You have been in jail a substantial amount of time, and I agree that the sentence probably is not based on the facts of the incident, as it was the fact that you were treated as an individual thing. So my vote today would be to grant with the same special conditions as my colleague.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Ozine, due to the warden recommendation and the amount of classes you've taken, I also vote to grant with the same conditions as Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. And Mr. Ozine, it didn't hurt that you turned yourself in when you were wrongly released, okay? So that shows a lot. So you've been granted your parole today with certain conditions. Now you're going to have to get a job. You have to work at it. You're going to have 3 AA meetings a week and randomly drug screening, okay?
Yes, sir.
Good luck to you, sir.
Thank
Hey,
Okay, so hang in there. We're going to go over a few things, and then we're going to go over something that may or may not surprise you. Do you think that he's going to do okay? It seems to me like he's, you know, from this hearing, maybe ready to change. I actually, before going through this, I thought that what he did was throw the car seat down with the baby in it, and the baby wasn't hurt, uh, but it was still traumatic. And Mr. Marabella thinks that he threw the car seat down without the baby in it. The judge initially, like I said, gave a 10-year sentence, but when he appealed, they came back and found the sentence too lenient because he was an habitual offender, and then they made it 20. And I could see through here, they're saying, you know what, he served so much time. Maybe, the judge his hand was forced because of, but what is unique here, what we're going to see now is the new story that happened when he was released by mistake. And then we're going to show you something else that may or may not surprise you.
Somebody's going to get out that shouldn't be out. It's going to hurt somebody and harm somebody, and then the state's going to be on the hook for that.
First on News 2 at 6 o'clock, it has happened again. Another inmate improperly released due to a miscalculation of time by the State Department of Corrections. Good evening. This is now the fourth high-profile mistake made by that state agency that we know about.
Critics following this mess say the state needs to make changes or it'll be liable when Louisiana citizens get hurt by an offender it improperly releases. Chief Investigator Chris Nakamoto here now with the latest mistake that has critics and the family of the man who was released calling for changes.
That's right. Once again, this mistake highlights the state's complex way of calculating an offender's time. 4 weeks ago, when we reported on another one of their screw-ups, the Department of Corrections said it improved its time calculations and had provided additional training for employees. That apparently didn't work as a criminal was set free last week, then picked back up days later after he was improperly released.
Harold Ozine's 4-day taste of freedom last week, short-lived. His family, talking to us from Lafayette, said his first order of business was getting a fresh haircut, ready for a fresh start, after he was set free from Dixon Correctional last Sunday.
I know you was hurt because he had been gone for a while.
But in 4 short days, a big mistake was made. The Department of Corrections messed up and realized he still had time left to serve. He was picked back up by probation and parole and is locked up again.
They need to get themselves together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all professionals. Y'all know, they shouldn't be making no mistakes like that.
Attorney Franz Borgart echoes the sentiments of Ozine's family. Borgart is currently representing a client who was set free by the Department of Corrections, then picked back up after a mistake they made. Nicholas Marchiafava was featured by WBRZ following his release, only to get rearrested days later due to their error.
I think DOC is demonstrating an epidemic of an incompetence that is simply not acceptable. We're talking about public safety. We're talking about the well-being of citizens.
Marchiafava isn't the only one. 3 years ago, we featured Ben Jewel Johnson, an inmate at DCI who was set free on accident. 2 weeks later, he was captured in Atlanta after the state improperly set him free. They said back then they were instituting checklists and new procedures to prevent mistakes. But the mistakes continued. With Marchiafava last year and just last month, we showed you Rosalind Richard was days away from being released. She mailed all of her belongings home only to be told DOC made a mistake and she still had time left to serve.
We're doing as best of a job as we can just isn't good enough.
So how does this keep happening? In 2017, Corrections Secretary Jimmy LeBlanc testified at the state capitol that the system they use is so complicated he couldn't even explain it, and he leads the agency.
I wish I could explain it to you, but I can't. It's very difficult. Actually, I have a program audit going on now with the legislature criticizing us for how complicated it is and why don't we have an automated system, and so we're in the process of putting together a response to that.
It's one thing to have something slip through the cracks. It's another thing to have a crack the size of the Grand Canyon where you know that it's happening, and yet you don't do anything to stop it.
Tonight, the families of those affected believe the state needs to get its act together.
There's too many mistakes. Y'all messing with people's lives like that.
and critics think the complex process of calculating time needs to change.
It's unacceptable. They need to get their house in order. And honestly, it's just they are begging for someone to get hurt as a result of this epidemic.
Last month, the state told us, based on their stats, time is miscalculated for about 125 inmates per year. We reached out to DOC this morning, and late this afternoon, we were told the Department of Corrections was not provided updated information from the parish where Ozine was convicted, which led to his release. The Department of Corrections now says it is currently reviewing this.
Well, there you have it. Frankly, I'm not surprised that, I don't know what the percentage is. What is it, 150 they said a year? But it shouldn't be happening. But they're using, big government uses antiquated, ridiculous software, which they probably paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to create. But it's not surprising at all. But again, this is not what we're going to But also what I was going to say is, hey, imagine if you got out just for 4 days. I get that it's going through an emotional roller coaster, but also it's kind of like a lottery ticket. 4 days of freedom. But so how do you think he did? Do you think he's doing well? Sadly, we're about to watch his revocation hearing, which took place just 2 days ago, November 15, 2023. So I think less than a year when he got out was when he was arrested. And well, let's go watch it.
Time is 8:53. Our panel today is Mr. Alvin Roche. My name is Tony Marabella. I'll be acting as chair, and Ms. Pearl Wise is also on the panel today. Our remote location is Lafayette Parish Correctional Center. Our first case is Mr. Harold Ozine. Mr. Ozine, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Ozane.
Ozine. Mr. Ozine, do you have any staff members in there with you, or are you there alone? Okay.
Deputy Joseph.
I'm sorry?
Deputy Joseph.
Thank you, Deputy Joseph. We appreciate your help today. Mr. Ozine, let me explain our procedure to you. First, I'm going to cover your parole revocation questionnaire with you. Then I'm going to read you the allegations of how you allege to have violated your parole. Then you'll plead either guilty or not guilty to each of the allegations. Then we'll have a full discussion about the allegations. Then you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the board. Then we'll vote. You understand our procedure?
Yes, sir.
Do you have your parole revocation questionnaire in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that your signature at the bottom, dated October the 6th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
When you answered that questionnaire, were those questions all accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Are they still accurate and correct today?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to proceed with your hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to read you each rule violation, then I'm going to ask you to enter a plea. Number 2, rule violation number 2. You failed to report to the Lafayette District Office as instructed on the following dates: February the 7th of 2023, April the 4th of 2023, April the 14th of 2023, and April the 18th of 2023. How do you plead to those allegations?
I got a plea, or I could explain, or just plead right now.
Well, maybe I didn't explain it accurately. I might have skipped that part. You can plead guilty with a statement, not guilty, and not guilty with a statement. So how will you wish to
All
plead?
right. I want to plead for number 2. For the first one, I want to plead guilty with a statement.
All right. I'll get to the other ones.
All right.
Next one is number 3. You failed to obtain permission from the supervising officer before moving on or about August the 30th of 2022, October the 16th of 2022, January the 16th of 2023, March the 7th of 2023, and March the 19th of 2023. You had to be located at your new address by this supervising officer on or about September the 21st of 2022, November the 1st of 2022, January the 31st of 2023, March the 13th of 2023, and March the 24th of 2023. How do you plead to those allegations?
Plead guilty with a statement.
Okay. The next is number 4. You engaged in criminal activity by committing the offense of battery of a dating partner on or about April the 14th of 2023, and you were arrested by Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Department on or about April 22nd of 2023. Under docket MD 189682, the charge of domestic abuse, the charge of battery of a dating partner was amended to resisting an officer. You pled guilty, were sentenced to 90 days parish jail with credit for time served. How do you plead to that allegation?
Not guilty to the battery charge, but I did plead guilty, and then it was disturbing the peace.
Well, that's some controversy, but okay. Understand that. You agree you pled guilty to something.
Yes, sir.
The peace
Yes.
or resisting an officer. The records seem to suggest resisting an officer, but okay. Number 8. Boy, it's fun to read. Number 6. You were ordered as a special condition to obtain full-time employment by the parole board prior to your release on August the 2nd of 2022, as evidenced by the certificate of parole. You have failed to provide the supervising officer with documentation or proof of valid employment since on or about February 14th of 2023. How do you plead to those allegations?
I'm gonna plead. I maintained the job the whole time I was at, but I'm gonna still plead guilty because I didn't go back in the office after February. But I was.
You'll have an opportunity to explain that. Okay.
All right. All right.
The next one is number 8. On October the 5th of 2022, the supervising officer served you with an administrative sanction, ordering you to remain in Be Great Recovery for 6 calendar months. You left the program without the permission of the supervising officer on or about October the 16th of 2023. How do you plead to that allegation?
I'm gonna plead guilty with a statement.
All right. Also, violation number 8, on February the 7th of 2023 and April the 14th of 2023, you failed to report to the Lafayette District Office as instructed to submit to a drug test. How do you plead to that allegation?
Guilty with a statement.
Number 10, you have an arrears balance of $441 on your account. How do you plead to that?
Guilty with a statement.
Did you read that the April the 14th, he failed to report? Is that on there? It's okay, it's not on there. He didn't even report on February the 7th, and then she had April the 14th as well for a drug test. It's not on there then. It's on the.
It's on there. You read it.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't
There
hear
was 2 days. It was
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
February the 7th.
Oh, I apologize.
And then your final one, number 12, special condition ordered by the parole board prior to your release on August the 2nd of 2022 and evidenced by the certificate of parole, AANA meetings 3 times per week. You have failed to provide documentation or proof of attendance to the supervising parole officer since on or about October the 13th of 2022. How do you plead to that allegation?
Not guilty.
All right. Mr. Ozine, your case has been assigned to Ms. Pearl Wise. Would you please answer any questions she might have?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning, sir. Let's hear your statements. Let's go back to number 2. You said you pled guilty with a statement on number 2. What is your statement about number 2?
Oh, was submitting monthly report, blah, blah,
Yes.
will complete I will report to in order to do so. You feel, on February the 7th, I was to work. I was working.
Okay.
And I talked to the parole officer about it and told her that I was at work, and then, but I reported the next day. I mean, the next week, on the next
week,
day,
okay.
which was February the 14th, and I went to do my drug test and everything.
Good, okay. Any other statements for number 2?
And on the incident in April, I didn't report in April. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because on the 4th, I was at work on the 4th, but then after the 4th, me and I was dealing with the incident with Miss Jackie Deloach, and I was trying to get my name cleared because I knew if I go in there, they probably would arrest me. So I was trying to get my name cleared of the charges that was brought against me.
Okay, all righty. Any other statements?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you said you had some statements for the next one as well. I think number 3, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your statements regarding that?
Well, on August the 30th, my mom had put me out of our house. She had put me out, told me to get out of our house. So when I got all my stuff and moved out, I called Miss Bonnie and left a recording on her answer machine and told her what happened and everything. But she didn't get back with me till like September, like 3 weeks later.
Okay.
And then the other ones, I did move. I was in a sober living house, and I was one of the officers in the Oxford community. And I had moved to another house to open the house just like for 30 days, and I moved back. But I did let her know all this. My fault is I didn't get permission.
Okay.
But every time I moved, I reported it to her. My fault in the thing when I pleading guilty to her is I didn't get permission before I did.
Okay, all right. Anything else you want us to know?
No, ma'am.
Now, tell us why you got kicked out of the office house, the Be Great recovery place.
Well, I didn't get kicked out the Be Great recovery place. The man who run the place, he a homosexual, you know, and he was making advantages towards me and this and that. But in the report, Ms. Bonner said that when I went report in November, that Mr. Loomis had put, he a supervising parole officer, he put in the report that I got kicked out for drinking, and me and Mr. Loomis never discussed my living situation over there or nothing. But what I figured out was that Mr. Larry called the parole people and he told them that I got kicked out for drinking, which I didn't get kicked out for drinking.
But now you did have a positive drug screen, right, for marijuana, alcohol,
that was when I first got out.
I'm looking at August 30th that you had it.
And when?
August 30th.
No, ma'am. I didn't go in that August. I went in it was before August 30th.
Let me say it like this. That's when the officer was notified on August the 30th that you had a positive. I don't have the date of when the test was done. I don't have that.
But
so what date was it done?
Excuse me. I got kicked out of, not kicked out, I moved out of Be Great in October.
That's correct.
In August, when I first got out, I ain't gonna lie, I drank, I did drugs. I'm gonna take my lick on that. And I tested positive. But then after that, I turned my life around. I got a job.
But let's go back even further than that. You are one of the unique people in that a panel granted you parole on July 19th of 2022. You must have been doing exceptionally well. How much time had you served when you got out? You remember? 13 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you actually got paroled on August the 2nd, and then when the officer had get a warrant on you on May 23rd, you didn't even make it out a year. That's disturbing to me. And all the programs that you had accomplished in order to be granted parole, you had the skills you needed. Can we agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
You had them. Why didn't you use them? That's my question.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
When I first got out, I messed up. But I turned my life around. I turned it around. I obtained employment.
When did this turnaround happen?
Like in October, when Miss Bonner, remember on the thing she said that she got in touch with me in September the 21st.
Okay. But you know what?
From September the 21st till I got arrested, I turned my whole life around.
You got arrested April 22nd for the bounty charge. You turned around in September. Okay. As I read your record, the things that the officer was doing with you and back and forth looked like you were just too busy for supervision. Everything else was rolling in your life, and you just was supervision was just getting in your way.
No, I embraced
supervision. Okay, I'm glad to hear that's not the case. But that's all.
I embraced the supervision, and I did what I was supposed to do. I did. Y'all asked me to go to meetings. Y'all asked me to obtain work. I got a job September the 9th. Okay. And I worked till the day I got arrested. I ain't never worked that much in my life before.
Well, good. That's an improvement. At least you can say you improved in that area you worked. That's all right. If you can answer my questions.
Ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote, Mr. Ozine?
I want to say this. I had my mess ups in the while I was out there, but I also had a lot of good. And my officer never had to come hunt me down or find me. I was always in contact with her. And I messed up. I'm gonna take my lick. But be honest with you, I got faults. I'm a man. I'm a human being. But I wasn't out there living the life of crime or nothing. I was working. I was doing what I was supposed to do. And I'm still learning how to follow rules outside. You know what I'm saying? Outside of the prison system. I'm learning. I'm still learning. And I'm 50 years old because I never did follow rules before in society. And I'm learning to do that. And I embraced that. And I worked and I did what I was supposed to do. I went to my meetings. I did my drug screen and I went visit. I did my visitations and all that with the parole officer. I never did none of that before. And I don't want to go back to prison. I just did 13 years. I ain't going to even lie to y'all. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't want to go back. I like living out there in the world. I like being a part of society.
Thank you, Mr. Ozine.
Yes, indeed. Ms. Ozine, I'm concerned about you. I really am. I'm concerned about you. What you just said does not match the record. The officer gave you opportunities. You were paroled. You had skills. You could have stayed out if you wanted to. My vote is to revoke your supervision and order that your original sentence be imposed. I find you guilty as you pled guilty to the allegations. And I'm going to make a further recommendation that you be re-enrolled in long-term substance abuse treatment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My vote is the same for the same reason.
Mr. Ozine, you have 2 votes to revoke. My vote likewise is the same with a recommendation, as Ms. Wise suggested, that you try to re-enroll in some long-term substance abuse treatment. Good luck to you, sir. I will be adjourned at Lafayette Parish. Thank you, Mr.
So there you have it. I think I made a mistake in my earlier comment. It wasn't a year to the date. His first hearing was 8/18/2020. His second hearing was 7/19/2022. And then his revocation hearing happened November 17, 2023. I think this is the first time that we've ever covered 3 hearings. So maybe we'll get him for a 4th on his next parole hearing. His full-time date is 2030, so he's back in 7 more years on the sentence. and he probably will get another shot at parole. But you know, it's how do you feel about this? His you know, he had a long record. He had all those revocations. He had, I mean, gosh, he only had like a moderate risk score. Surely the algorithm PhDs couldn't have gotten that wrong, right? It should have been, at least it wasn't a low risk score. You know, there were certain, you know, it's like he got out and immediately tested positive. So like everything that it is hard to understand. You're back in all that time. You know, it's you see he was supposed to go to those AA meetings. He's supposed to, but it just seemed to all fall apart. And that is really a shame. But were you surprised, or were you expecting it? And then I guess for the final thing here that we can look at is this was his appeal. So, and thank you, Richard, for putting all this together. The research and the links and the hearings, but it's the 7-page appeal. But where it goes off here, which is quite interesting, sentence vacated and remanded for resentencing. So you might think, wow, he's won an appeal, but no, it was vacated because it was too lenient. He sentenced him to serve 10 years at hard labor. The state of Louisiana perfected this appeal, asserting that the sentence imposed. Oh, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he didn't appeal, but the state of Louisiana appealed the judge. That's okay. I think I was wrong. The state of Louisiana actually went out and said, no, the sentence is illegally lenient. And here's why, for the following reasons. And they go on stating how he's an habitual offender. And I just want to, I'm actually glad that we figured this out, because this is a really important point. I think this is a really important point. So it shows it's proof that when the state, and we've known this already, but here's additional proof. When the state of Louisiana wants to lock someone away for longer, they will put in the time, they will make an appeal, they will put in the facts, and they will do it. But we have seen over and over and over and over again, when they don't do this, when it's people who hurt a child, we have seen where people who have hurt children multiple times and could be billed as an habitual offender and are not. It shows here, they say January 31st, 2011, the state charged. So they go through all the dates, 1992, 2011. And basically they won the appeal. They overrode the judge. You know, so some DA said, no, I'm just tired of this guy, even though the crime that he committed, some might argue, wasn't, no one got hurt. He did something that was, you know, but they wanted him locked up for more time, and they got it. And they don't do this when it's someone who is harming a child. I could say, well, he was harming a child, but I believe that the child didn't get hurt, but that it was dangerous. Whether it's Mr. Mirabella's thing where he threw the car seat and it was next to the child, or he threw the car seat with the child in it. But regardless, he's locked back up, and it's all on him. It's really all on him. And I don't feel bad. I'm sorry, but I don't feel bad. just because it's he did it to himself. But anyways, love to hear your thoughts. And with that, I'll let you go.